This is Katie Colleen here. Welcome back, Colleen Clan, or if you are new, then come join the family. Today we're talking about cosplay resale, everything you need to know about buying and selling used costumes, how to sell, where to sell, and what you can expect as both a seller and a buyer. Now, I remember when I was just a baby cosplayer, I was just getting started, and I told myself I would never sell one of my precious costumes. I brought them into this world. I made them from fabric. And you know, that's kind of what I did for a few years until I had about 40 costumes. I could no longer shut my closet, and my physical being on this planet could not possibly wear and enjoy 40 costumes anymore. So it was time to clear the closet. And I realized that there really weren't a lot of good ways to sell costumes at the time. Now, you may be thinking about clearing out your closet with normal clothes, and a lot of people would just take them to the thrift store. Now, this doesn't quite work with cosplay. Maybe if you have a really recognizable cosplay like Spider-Man or something, maybe the thrift store will take that and put it up for Halloween. But if you come into the thrift store with a really obscure anime costume and they can't piece it apart into normal looking clothes, there's a good chance your costume's just gonna end up in the landfill. What are they supposed to do with it? They don't know what it is. Furthermore, a lot of our costumes cost multiple hundreds of dollars. So you really want to make sure the person who ends up with it is going to be using it as a cosplay and actually understands what it is. Well, you have fashion resale apps too. Places like Depop or Mercari. So surely cosplay can be sold on these apps as well. And it can be, that's certainly an option, but these apps were not created for selling costumes. A lot of the cosplay hashtags are just flooded with not cosplay things. If you go into a fashion resale app and type in cosplay, your feed is just going to be flooded with anime merch and lingerie and things that just aren't even cosplay. Which brings me to the most popular way to sell costumes before 2021, and that was social media. And I have both bought and sold costumes through social media. This was kind of the way of buying and selling costumes. And it also was not really a good option. So if you want to buy or sell on social media, basically someone just makes a post saying, I have costumes for sale. And then whoever sees that post will maybe send a message to that person and they can work out, you know, a transaction of money and shipping the costume out. This is also not a super great option as you have a very limited audience. You're basically just selling these costumes to your followers and hoping that someone will want to take it. Furthermore, there's quite a bit more risk involved as there's really no one to handle disputes. There was this one time I bought a Haikyuu cosplay over Instagram and it just never showed up. To this day, I don't know if the person just never shipped it out at all or if it just got lost in shipping. Now, there are also cosplay resale groups on Facebook where you can kind of get a group of people together, try and get the word out a bit more. There's also cosplay for sale hashtags on Instagram. You can kind of hashtag your post and try and get more eyes on it. So all of these options that you might be thinking of for cosplay resale don't really work that well. And that's because cosplay resale has a very specific problem. And that is, it is hard to find the perfect buyer and the perfect seller. Just think about buying clothes. If something's not in your size, you're not gonna buy it. If I can't wear the clothing because it doesn't fit me, I'm not gonna buy it. It's basically useless to me if it doesn't fit. Now, cosplay does have that problem, but it has another more specific problem. If someone's selling a costume and I'm not interested in the fandom, I'm not gonna buy it. Furthermore, if I am interested in the fandom and I just don't like that character, I'm still not gonna buy it. It's just so difficult to find another cosplayer who wants to cosplay from the same fandom and the same character and is the same size and is happy with shipping and the cost and the quality. There's just so many things that have to connect. Now, this specific problem required a very specific solution. We're talking cosplay specific resale sites. Now, the oldest instance of a cosplay resale site that I can find is AC Cosplay Paradise. This was established in 2000. Now, AC Cosplay Paradise is still active to this day, but it's kind of dead. However, AC Cosplay Paradise did have a marketplace, and that's what interests me. So their marketplace was kind of along the lines of the social media buying and selling, where they didn't handle any of the payment transactions, they didn't handle any disputes. It was basically just to get that wider audience you need to be able to sell cosplays. So members on AC Cosplay Paradise, which is a $20 one-time fee, those people were able to list costumes on the site, and then people could see those costumes for sale and they would just contact the seller and you'd kind of work it out. I actually looked on there to try and buy some costumes, and I reached out to a seller, and then it turned out that the costume had been posted in 2013. I really don't think that seller is still on AC Cosplay Paradise, just waiting for someone to message them about that sale. So I don't recommend actually using this site for buying or selling costumes. It's really more of a relic of the past, but seems worth mentioning just to emphasize the point that this has been a problem for a while, you guys. It's been there for a while. So I'm going to be talking about some of the current cosplay specific resale sites. Now, these just came onto the scene in 2021, and I am really excited to see this. So we're going to be talking about Lumikha and CosCove. I have bought and sold on both of these sites. So I'm going to be just going through everything you need to know about buying and selling on both Lumikha and CosCove, and we're going to be kind of comparing them. Now, both of these sites are cosplay specific resale. That means they are advertising themselves just for costumes. Their goals are to recycle costumes a bit, be more sustainable, have less costumes in landfills, and also save money for cosplayers because you can get these used costumes much cheaper than something new. Now, the biggest difference I've seen between these two is that CosCove also has a capability for commission work. So commission is when you reach out to a sewist or a cosplayer and you ask them to make something for you. Something completely new, completely custom, just to you. So CosCove does have the ability to find sellers on their site, contact sellers, and do commissions through their website. But the resale aspect is pretty similar on both. Another big difference between these two sites is that on Lumikha, you can buy and sell anywhere in the world. On CosCove, you can only do in-app purchases if you are in the United States. You can still list cosplays on their site if you are outside the US, but if you want to use that buy now button, then you do need to be in the United States. So if you want to sell on Lumikha, you'll need a PayPal business account. Now, I already had a PayPal account and I just had to convert it to a business account. This isn't very difficult. The website has very easy step-by-step instructions, so it wasn't too difficult for me to get my account set up and get ready to sell. On CosCove, they do their transactions through a third-party company called Stripe. So it's pretty similar. You need to just kind of get set up with a Stripe account. They have information on their website how to do that. That also only took me a few minutes. From there, you can start listing your costumes for sale. Now, there are a few things that I always like to include in my cosplay sales posts. Some information I really think that everyone should have on their cosplay sales. First of all, you want to explain what you're selling. And I also like to explain what it's made of. If I made it myself, how it was made. Is the garment lined, or does it have certain closures? Is it a certain type of material? And if you just got the costume from a factory, then you can also just link the description from that factory's website so people can look up that information. So for the sizing, I always give my measurements, assuming I'm the one modeling, and then I also explain if the costume could go bigger or smaller. I will say things like, this is a non-stretch, couldn't go any bigger, just so people coming across this post, if they aren't exactly my size, which I imagine there are only so many humans out there that are exactly my size, they'll kind of know if this costume could still work for them. I also like to write what is included in this costume for sale and what is not included. You'd think just having one of these would be enough, but I've seen so many sales posts that will say something's included, but it's not in the picture, or they'll say something's not included and it is in the picture. And if you're trying to sell this costume, you just want to be as clear as possible. And then finally, I also like to list the wear count. How many times I've worn the costume, if I can remember. Now on both CosCove and Lumikha, they just have some general like wear categories, like new with tags, gently used, moderately used, but I also like to count how many times I've worn the costume. And lots of pictures. Put as many pictures as possible. So you have your post listed as a seller then. What happens next? This is where things are a bit different between Lumikha and CosCove, and where you might have to make a decision if you really want to be selling on both or just one. So when a sale happens on Lumikha, a notification gets sent to the seller, and the seller has to accept this notification before any sort of money is transferred. I kind of like this as a little safety net, because even though Lumikha's been around for, I guess, a bit more than a year now, they still have inactive sellers. There's this one costume I really wanted on Lumikha, and I commented. I was a total weirdo, and I also tried to find them on Instagram and send them a message, and nothing. They just weren't active, or I don't know, I hope they're doing well out there, I guess. On Lumikha, after you have confirmed it, you will see the money, and you'll have the money from the sale, and you'll be able to use that money to pay for shipping if you need to. Now on Lumikha, they don't have a lot of things that sellers must do. At the point that the sale's been done, it's kind of up to the seller when they're going to ship the item, if the item is going to be tracked, anything like that. And there isn't a whole lot of mandated communication between the buyer and seller in this point. And then from there, the seller sends out the package and the buyer receives it. The buyer can mark it as complete. We're all happy. Now things are a bit different on CosCove. Now on CosCove, when a sale happens, the seller is also notified, but they don't have to confirm anything. At the point of sale, that sales posting is kind of listed as sold, so no one else can try and buy it. And the process is already really started at that point. Now they don't have that check off that the seller's there, but that's because they have a lot of more stricter requirements to sell on CosCove. If you're going to sell on CosCove, you need to ship out your item within 3 business days. Furthermore, all of your shipping must be tracked, and you must provide a tracking number to the buyer. On CosCove, you are required to ship your package within 3 business days, but you don't receive the money until 5 business days. So that means that when you make the sale, you kind of have to dig into your own savings a little to pay for shipping before you get reimbursed another 2 days later. And then it's kind of the same, you know, you send out the package, the buyer receives it, and then they can mark the order as complete. Now with both these sites, a lot of times the buyers don't know to mark the order as complete, and I would recommend reaching out to the buyers and asking them to do so. This basically is just a confirmation between all parties involved that the transaction went smoothly. So on Lumikha, PayPal handled any disputes. So let's say someone wanted to be nasty, they received the package, but they said that they didn't, and then they were asking for a refund. That would have to go through PayPal. Other things like chargebacks, or if the thing you received was broken or not as advertised, that all goes through PayPal. On CosCove, they have buyer protection from CosCove. So if you have any problems like that, CosCoves themselves will take care of it. As far as the cut that the site takes, all resale sites do take a portion of the sale. That's how they make money. That's how they are a business. So with both Lumikha and CosCove, they take 10% of the base sale price. So I sold my Eno cosplay for $30 and Lumikha took $3, which I think is worth it just to get a larger pool of buyers. And both sites also have a transaction fee, like the basic PayPal transaction fee, $2, whatever. But the rest goes to you. Honestly, I feel like both sites have pretty good traffic. They both do pretty good advertising and will try and get the word out that you have stuff for sale. With both these sites, I can come back weekly and see new things being listed. I can see things moving through. I feel like they both have pretty comparable, you know, traffic through their site of people seeing stuff for sale. So now that you know how and where to sell, the next question is what to expect. And for sellers, I'm gonna be honest with you, okay? Can I make a generalization? So it's not gonna cover every costume, but just a general statement. If you wanna sell a costume, you're probably only gonna get material cost back. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. You're only gonna get material cost back out of it. And this just goes back to that very specific problem we were talking about, where it's just so hard to find someone who's interested in the same fandom, the same character, the same size, quality, cost, that they can actually find you and buy this costume. I have costumes up for free that I can't get rid of. Now for factory made costumes, a lot of times I see people listing them for about 50% of the cost that they bought them for, which I get it. It's unfortunate if you bought this for so much money, you wore it once, and now you have to sell it for like 50% of what you bought it for. But that's generally what I see them going for. So with most sellers, it's more about finding someone else to love the cosplay, making cosplay more sustainable, clearing out the closet. You're really not gonna get a whole lot of money out of it. Now, what to expect as a buyer. If you are looking to buy used costumes, I would say be prepared to potentially, again, a generalization, potentially put in a little bit of extra work. A lot of used costumes, when you're buying them, will not have the wig or the shoes. And even if they do, a lot of times you'll want to switch out the wig, switch out some accessories, or you might have to do some small fixes to the fit, because these costumes were not custom fit to you. They were not custom made to you. They were made to the person who was selling the costume. So you might have to do a few little alterations for fit, depending on how picky you are. I happen to be very picky. So I generally have to do some work on every costume that I buy used. So if you are looking to clear out your closet before you take stuff to the landfill, unfortunately, please try and at least list it on some of these sites just to hopefully get it into the hands of another cosplayer who can love it. And also, if you are looking to buy a costume, just give it a quick search in both Lumikha and CosCove and just see if you can buy it used. That's a much more sustainable and cheaper way to cosplay. If there is any cosplay I want to do, I just look on those sites. Actually, wait. Actually, I don't really buy new wigs anymore. Most of the wigs I've bought in the last year have been used. And wigs are really great on both of these sites. A lot of times you can find brand new wigs in the bag that people just bought for a cosplay idea and never used. So if you want like a brand new Arta wig still in the bag, sometimes you can find those too. But between all of these resale sites, I just don't need to buy wigs anymore unless they're like really strange. And if you liked this video, please let me know. This is one of my first times doing a video essay type video. I just realized that I had kind of deep dived into cosplay resale because I find it to be very, very interesting, and I thought I would share all that knowledge with you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!